Today on the Freedom Cast, Ron DeSantis violates the First Amendment, neo-Nazi Nick Fuentas comes out against Donald Trump, Barack Obama speaks at Kamala's Pittsburgh rally, and Fox News hosts make odd remarks about Taylor Swift. We'll talk about all that and more today here on the Freedom Cast. Okay, so this is from the Rolling Stone. DeSantis seeks to silence brain cancer patients speaking out about her abortion. As Ron DeSantis tries to protect his state's abortion ban, his agency is threatening to prosecute TV stations for sharing a dying woman's story. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is putting the full weight of the Florida government behind an effort to defeat a ballot measure that would protect abortion access in the state, including by enlisting government lawyers in a campaign to silence a young mother with terminal brain cancer who was warning of the danger Florida's strict ban poses to women like her. This November, Florida residents will have the opportunity to vote on Amendment 4. If passed, the measure will enshrine the right to abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health in Florida's Constitution. The pitch is broadly popular with Floridians. A September poll showed the measure attracting support from 76% of voters. Now DeSantis is trying to keep a cancer patient named Caroline from sharing the story of her abortion by threatening to criminally prosecute TV stations that carry the Amendment 4 ad featuring her story. The first time she was pregnant, Caroline was terribly nauseous all 9 months. The second time off, as a comparative breeze, she was such an easy pregnancy until everything happened, she says. Now, I think that ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, conservatives have kind of branded Ron DeSantis as someone who's for freedom, the free state of Florida. And I think people are making a big mistake when they try to label this guy as the warrior for freedom, kind of the almost just like a successor to Trump in 2028 or something like that. He is nowhere close to being for freedom, and I think this story should show right here. The things that people point to that he's for freedom is probably the Florida economy. Okay, no income tax balance the budget. Congratulations, he just did what 80% of the other Republican governors did. He protected Second Amendment rights, and the main thing people give him credit for that kind of distinguishes him between the other Republican governors is how he handled COVID-19. That how he was for freedom. He didn't censor information or so-called misinformation. His view was kind of like, okay, Dr. Fauci says this, but you might not think that. Your doctor might say something different, and that we should encourage the free exchange of ideas when we're dealing with medical issues. We should allow for different doctors to have different opinions. We should allow for individuals to have different opinions, and we should allow for individuals to make their own decisions. And I think that's why people liked Ron DeSantis so much, and why they saw him as someone who was fighting for freedom. And I agree. I think he handled COVID very well. But this story right here, and there's numerous examples, should show that he is not for freedom at all. And there are numerous examples where Ron DeSantis is governing like a fascist. And I think as Republicans, we have to be honest. There are some actual fascists in the Republican Party. There's a lot of them. Some of them go hand in hand with kind of the corporate Republicans. I also think Ron DeSantis is a corporate Republican. He represents kind of a return to the George Bush Republican Party. At least that's what he did when he ran in 2024. And probably, if he runs again in 2028, that's what he will represent. And if he ever is successful in winning the Republican nomination in the future, or the party will sadly go back to the party of George Bush, because, think about what Donald Trump represented. He represented a, push away from the George Bush Republican Party, away from kind of that heavy fascist social conservatism that George Bush did, away from that kind of corporate warmongering party, and towards a more socially liberal, socially accepting, economic populist party, MAGA, which was for everyone. the idea that we should return to the economy of Eisenhower and that we should be socially accepting of everyone. That's what Donald Trump represents. Ron DeSantis represents the exact opposite of that. And I think that Ron DeSantis governs like a fascist in Florida. That's just not a political statement. That's just a fact. You look at some of the policies he's enacted are just flat out against the First Amendment. That's probably the first area you should look at. If you think, if you look at a certain politician and you want to say, are they for freedom or not? First thing you should look at is, well, do they protect the First Amendment? Are they pro free speech? Because, if we can't have the free exchange of ideas, we don't have a democratic political system anymore. So you have to look at Ron DeSantis and say, is he protecting the First Amendment? Well, no. There's numerous policies where he is a totalitarian, a fascist, where he uses the heavy hand of the state to censor information. Of course, he censors anti-Israel information in Florida. He signed a bill, I think last year or a few months ago, that did that. His infamous "Don't Say Gay" bill, which a lot of conservatives try to justify. You can't justify it. He is censoring the speech of teachers and censoring ideas in classrooms, which I don't think should be done. Even if the ideas are bad, I think ideas should be up for debate. But those are separate issues. The issue we're talking about today is him using the heavy hand of the state to censor a woman who is trying to share her story about the barbaric consequences of his abortion ban. Now, again, I'm not going to make this issue too much about abortion. I think that there's room for disagreement on that. Ron DeSantis is pro-life, and he believes that his abortion bans work. I kind of disagree with that. I think a lot of people disagree. His bans have unintended consequences, and Ron DeSantis has every right to come out and, try to defend his view. If he wants to put out a statement saying that, no, this is wrong, it's actually not because of my abortion ban, he's every right to do that. What he has no right to do is to try to use the government to censor TV stations. This is something straight out of Nazi Germany, Joseph Stalin. This is a totalitarian state. He is censoring TV commercials because they're going to hurt him politically. He is censoring, what medical misinformation, which is very, very ironic because I thought that was everything Ron DeSantis stood against. As I said before, with COVID, he took a stand against the state censoring medical misinformation. He understood that, we all have the right to have our own opinions and to have our own opinions when it comes to medicine and what works and what doesn't. And the fact that he is being a complete hypocrite on this and saying, that this woman has no right to share her story and that TV stations should be censored is just absolutely barbaric. He is a corporate Republican fascist, and that's all he'll ever be. He is not some warrior of freedom. He does not represent the values of the Republican Party. He does not represent the values of the United States of America. He destroys our Constitution on a regular basis when it comes to the First Amendment, and he is somebody who we should never trust as Republicans or even as Americans. And I think this is just a barbaric story that he is promoting censorship, and it's really, tough to see all the Republicans who idolize him as the best governor in the state, or, a successor to Donald Trump, a successor to the MAGA movement. He is everything that the MAGA movement is against. He is, kind of a borderline neo-Nazi. I know that's harsh words, but again, as Republicans, we have to realize there are some fascists in the party. There are some neo-Nazis in the party. Kind of that chronically online ideology. A lot of people like that who, say that, okay, Donald Trump isn't going far enough. He is too socially liberal. He's not pursuing policies that will lead to the genocide of the undesirables, which is what I think neo-Nazis truly want, and policies that, whether or not Ron DeSantis believes it or not, those are the policies that Ron DeSantis is pursuing. Even if you look at Donald Trump's first assassination attempt, Thomas Matthew Crooks, that guy was a chronically online neo-Nazi, Ron DeSantis Republican. He's somebody who is completely opposed to MAGA, the ideology of Donald Trump, because he believes that Donald Trump is too socially liberal. Sorry, buddy, he's too pro-freedom for him. He wants the Republican Party to be filled of people like Ron DeSantis, fascist totalitarians with a neo-Nazi ideology. And these people want the party so badly. They want it back so badly. They want to return to not just even the era of George Bush. I mean, I think that the corporate Republicans and the elites, McConnell and the Bushes would like that. But if we do ever return to the Bush GOP, it will be, it will be even worse. It will be, not only will it be a Republican Party that looks out for that is a corporatist Republican Party and a warmongering party. It will also be a socially fascist party like Ron DeSantis. That's why I think it is so important that we allow for the Republican Party to be the party of freedom. We have to defend the party from within, from fascists like Ron DeSantis, who want to make it into something that it's not, that Abraham Lincoln would have never wanted it to be, that Ronald Reagan would have never wanted it to be, that, of course, Donald Trump does not want it to be, whether he realizes what's happening or not. I think it is important that us as Republicans try to maintain the Republican Party as the MAGA party forever, even long after Donald Trump is out of office, even long after Donald Trump is dead, because we cannot let people like Ron DeSantis take control of a party that is supposed to be for freedom, for individual liberty, not for a party that advocates for the state to censor so-called medical misinformation so that Ron DeSantis can hold on to power in Florida. It's absolutely appalling. Anyway, I'm moving on from that. So kind of staying on the topic of neo-Nazi, anti-Trump Republicans who want to take the Republican Party in a fascist direction, here is a statement from which infamous chronically online neo-Nazi Nick Fuentas. Here's what he had to say about Donald Trump. Watch this.
In my opinion, if you're a Catholic, you can't vote for Trump. You cannot vote for somebody who is now frequently supporting abortion rights. Frequently. It seems like every week he supports abortion. Catholics should not support Trump. If you are anti-war, you cannot support Trump. Trump is the World War III candidate. Trump is talking about wiping Iran off the map. That's where the war is going to go nuclear, not Ukraine. You can't vote for Trump. If you're an immigration restrictionist, you can't vote for Trump. They're not deporting any illegals. Okay, that's not happening. They admitted as much. And they're going to bring in more legal immigrants than ever before. And if you think there's some silver lining that we're going to get jobs in the Trump admin, maybe it's bad, but we're going to get in and fix it, think again. Because the personnel are going to be controlled by Jared Kushner. None of these people can vote for Trump. I'm calling on Catholics, anti-war supporters, immigration restrictionists, and MAGA loyalists to stay home and not vote for Trump. And if we go forward with any operations with Groyper War II, from now on, that is the goal. At one point, it was to get Trump's attention. Going forward, it's going to be to get people not to vote, period.
So again, these are the kind of chronically online neo-Nazi idiots that we have to share a party with, unfortunately. He says that basically you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump because he is not going to progress the kind of neo-Nazi ideology that him and so many other chronically online, people have. He's kind of using the same attack lines that Ted Cruz used back in 2016, saying, oh, he's a New York liberal. He's not going to be as socially conservative, or as I like to say, socially fascist, as the Bush Republicans were, or as these chronically online Nazis would like the Republican Party to be. The attack lines that Ron DeSantis was using in his 2024 race, saying he's not going to be as socially fascist. let's break it down issue by issue. First issue, Nick Fuentes says not to vote for Trump over his abortion. Because Donald Trump is not, passionately anti-abortion. He's not for the heavy hand of the state coming in to restrict access to abortion. Well, yeah, of course he's not, because that's how you lose elections, taking that unpopular position. Not only is it an unpopular position, but I would say advocating for the state to restrict abortion is an immoral position. Even if you are pro-life, I consider myself to be pro-life, you should advocate for abortions to be restricted, or not restricted, to go down through the invisible hand of the free market, not through the heavy hand of the state. And I think that's what Donald Trump is doing. He's backing away from the kind of extreme socially conservative aspect of the Republican Party. In fact, Republicans even took the anti-abortion stuff out of their platform, which I think is good. I think that will help them in future elections. And Nick Fuentes thinks that, restricting abortion is the top issue. It's not. When people have to put food on the table, when inflation is as high, it is not and has never been a top issue. Even if you do think it should be restricted, it should not be a top issue. And the next issue he brings up is war. Now, I kind of see what he's saying on this, and I kind of agree. Donald Trump is bad on Israel. So is Kamala Harris. So is every other politician, Democrat or Republican. And I think that everyone in politics is so bad on the issue that it's kind of become a non-issue. So what are you going to do? Not vote for Donald Trump, and then Kamala Harris wins, and it's the exact same policy? If both of them are equally bad on a policy issue, it it becomes a non-issue, because you can't vote against it. There's not even really a viable third party option that is against it. So it's just kind of a non-issue. I don't think it is a reason to not vote for Trump, especially if he's proven that he is a lot less for the military-industrial complex than Kamala Harris is. That's for sure. He will probably stop the aid to Ukraine. He will find a way to bring our troops home, and he will not start any new wars. I think Donald Trump is anti-war in that regard. Next issue he brings up is immigration. He says if you are a hardline immigration restrictionist, you can't vote for Trump because he doesn't support hardline immigration restrictivism. I'd say, yeah, he doesn't support that. He is not a nativist. He is not a racist, as the CNN puts it. I think Nick Fuentes is the kind of guy that if he hears all these attacks against Donald Trump from corporate media, CNN, they hear people say Donald Trump is a racist, he's a nativist, he hates immigrants, instead of saying no, he's not, and giving the evidence to support that Donald Trump is actually fine with immigration. He just wants to secure the border because there is a crisis at the border. It needs to be secured. Instead of going with that line of response, Nick Fuentes would say, yeah, he is a racist, he is anti-immigration, and that's a good thing, because Nick Fuentes doesn't support all these, immigration restrictions um, because of the humanitarian crisis, or to actually try to solve a real problem or anything like that. He's restricting it because he's racist and he believes that we can't contaminate the pure white blood, or whatever kind of crap he believes. So he is mad that Donald Trump doesn't hold his view, and he doesn't, because Donald Trump is not what the corporate media portrays him as, even as much as Nick Fuentes might want him to be. So no, he is not a hardline immigration restrictionist. Or, I don't know, I keep saying that word wrong. He is not hardline anti-immigration. He's anti-illegal immigration, and he wants there to be an orderly process to come in. I never understood why people leaned into saying that he was anti-immigration. His wife is an immigrant. He probably hired a lot of immigrants, and that's fine. I think as long as they're legal immigrants, there's no problem with it. And then the last issue, he brings up he thinks that there's not going to be a lot of job growth because Jared Kushner is going to be in the administration. I don't know what the hell that kind of sense that makes. Number one, last time he put Jared Kushner in charge of foreign policy, and he did a bad job, and Jared Kushner is corrupt, which is why I don't think he's going to be in the administration this time around. He's not. I think Donald Trump has learned a lot from his mistakes, and that he's not going to put idiot neocons in power anymore. That's why he didn't pick Mike Pence again. And I think that with people like J.D. Vance and Vivek Ramaswamy and RFK Jr. as his top advisors, we're not going to have people like Jared Kushner, idiots like him in the administration anymore. So I don't know what Nick Fuentes is talking about there. And, for him to say something as irresponsible as stay home, don't vote for Trump, because he's not an authoritarian fascist like Nick Fuentes wants him to be. To say that in the midst of one of the most important elections in American history is just the most incredibly irresponsible thing you could even say. So, anyways, moving on to the next thing. So Kamala Harris recently had a campaign rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Barack Obama spoke at the rally. He's coming back out of the shadows, and he's trying to endorse Kamala Harris and get him to win. So we're going to listen to some of that speech now.
They understand that too many folks here in Pennsylvania and across the country are struggling to pay the bills. Even though wages are steadily growing and inflation is finally slowing, the price of everything from health care to housing to groceries, it's still too high. And that takes a real bite out of paychecks. It hurts. So the question is, who's really going to do something about it? That's what you should be asking yourself. Now, Donald Trump's plan is to do what he did last time, which was give another massive tax cut to billionaires and big corporations. And then, don't boo, I'm going to break you of this habit. And the reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts. His other big economic plan now is to slap tariffs on everything, from food to TVs. Now, understand what tariffs are. Anything that's coming from that's made elsewhere and comes here, you slap extra money on top of it. And if other countries are cheating, in some cases, it makes sense because you want to have a fair playing field. But what he's proposing is basically a Trump sales tax that could cost the average family almost $4,000 a year. So if you're concerned about higher prices, that is not the way to get lower prices. That's going to come out of your pockets. You think prices are high now? Donald Trump's message basically is, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, so it was Obama at Kamala's rally, and, I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot how good Obama was at giving speeches. He is an incredibly good speaker. He's definitely way better than Kamala Harris, and definitely a lot better than Biden. We're used to 4 years of Biden going on stage and mumbling incoherently and stuttering and trailing off. Obama definitely is not like that at all. It's just that's how he won 2 elections. His cadence and the rhythm and the way he speaks, that he is really good at making people think that he's for him. That he is for the average American. when he is not. So I guess Kamala Harris knows she's in trouble when Democrats have to bring out the secret weapon, Barack Obama, to try to get people to, you know, vote for Kamala Harris. Now, I really wish we had something like that on the Republican side. I wish we had a Republican Barack Obama who was that good at giving speeches and articulating ideas as he is. But anyway, let's get to the substance of what Barack Obama said and why he's wrong. Basically, the first thing he says is about Donald Trump's tax cuts and how they're bad. This is a common talking point of the Democratic Party that I just don't seem to understand. They immediately say that Donald Trump gave tax cuts to the rich, like it's a bad thing. The truth is, Donald Trump gave tax cuts to everyone. He gave taxes to the middle class, and he gave tax cuts to the rich, which allowed companies to expand jobs and to increase wages and to invest in the communities. That's how it works. And then the other thing he said that I don't think I've ever heard this line before is he tried to take credit for the economic growth of the Trump administration. He said that that was his economy coming in. And I guess that's a good talking point, but that's just simply not true at all. Barack Obama had very high inflation coming in. How do you think Donald Trump won? Donald Trump won in economic populism. Economic populism normally doesn't work too well if you have a good economy. If Barack Obama had a good economy, I don't think Donald Trump would have had a good chance of winning. Donald Trump won because he was able to kind of be an economic populist. Can't be an economic populist if you have a good economy. So he cannot take credit for the beginning of Donald Trump's term at all, especially, I don't know, how far does he think it goes? Does he think that the economy in 2018, can Obama still take credit for that after Trump's been in for over a year? No, he can't. So, obviously that's a complete lie, but again, Barack Obama is such a skilled speaker that a lot of people are going to believe that. The next thing he talks about is about Donald Trump's tariffs, and I've heard this a lot. That's the main attack Kamala Harris is using, that, Donald Trump's going to impose a national sales tax through tariffs, and that's just not true. Donald Trump, believe it or not, it actually wants more free trade, and a lot of times how you get free trade is through tariffs, reciprocal tariffs. If you put tariffs on the countries that have tariffs on us, reciprocal tariffs, a lot of times it ends up with the countries dropping the tariffs, and you have more free trade, you have more free markets, and you have more free flowing of goods through the border. I think that's what you need. That's what Donald Trump's policy was in his first term. That's what it was in the what it's going to be in his second term. I don't think Barack Obama really understands that. The other thing he said that was kind of interesting, but also wrong, was he said he spent 8 years cleaning up the mess the Republicans left him the last time. Which, number one, yes, it's true. George Bush and Dick Cheney were terrible administration. The Wall Street crash was definitely because George Bush gave those bailouts. But Barack Obama didn't clean it up. He governed almost identical to George W. Bush. And now he's trying to conflate George W. Bush to Donald Trump as if they're the same kind of Republican. Again, I said earlier, completely different types of Republicans. George Bush is a corporatist, warmongering fascist, and Donald Trump is an economically populist, socially liberal, MAGA Republican. They're completely different ideologies. Just because they both have R's next to their names doesn't mean they're going to have remotely the same policy or governing philosophy. That was another thing Obama said that was just a lie. But, and again, he speaks with such, intelligence, cadence, and rhythm. There's a reason why he won 2 elections. Of course, they put up idiots against him. He was running against McCain and Mitt Romney, who were probably the biggest corporatist, warmongering morons on the planet. But and they were easy targets for Barack Obama, and they didn't have term limits. Obama might still be president today with how good he is with rhetoric and winning elections. So, anyways, moving on to the final story. This is a clip from Fox and Friends earlier this week. Watch this. They say some pretty weird things.
They like him there, right?
All I care about is if Taylor Swift finally gets engaged. That's all I think about. It's the only thing on my mind.
The story was dead,
Okay,
and you had to bring it back.
Right.
No, but she needs to have babies.
Oh, God, well.
I know. We want her to have children.
I was going to talk about family.
She's in her 30s. That's when you start to really want children.
Right. He's going to need something to do.
At least
he's just about done, Jason Kelce.
Yeah.
You watch him, he's not the same player.
Well, he's rich.
Travis, I should say. Jason already retired.
Something changed.
The Kelce, yeah, they got rich. They're doing a podcast for like $120 million bucks. God bless him.
That's not what Lawrence is talking about.
No. He decided that he wanted to be a Swiftie, and now his game has decreased. Okay, I hope it was worth it.
Got to make a choice. That's why. That's why I only listen to country.
Okay.
I don't want to get soft.
The fall of every great man is always.
Look at Matt
Taylor Swift.
A
She
woman.
is, Lauren, she's the number one
Maybe she's
entertainer
worth
in the
it.
world.
Yeah.
There's Fox and Friends saying all kinds of things about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, how she has to have babies and she's got to get engaged soon. This kind of rhetoric is not helpful on the right wing. I think that turns a lot of people off. I think that's the reason why, Taylor Swift herself and her fans tend not to vote Republican, because, people, right-wingers want to get up in everyone's business and try to tell them when they should have kids and when they should get married and control their personal life. Like, that's a very weird thing to say about somebody else's life. I think the Republican Party should be for freedom. They shouldn't care if you have kids or not. And they definitely should not be blaming Travis Kelce's poor performance on him dating Taylor Swift. That's kind of a stupid thing to say. I think the reason his performances went down is not because he's dating Taylor Swift, and that somehow that makes him a worse football player. It's because he's 35 years old and he doesn't play as good as he used to, because that's what happens when you get old in football. It's probably almost time for him to retire. It has nothing to do with the relationship. So again, I don't think this kind of rhetoric is really helping our cause. I think that if we want to win elections, right wingers should kind of, tone it down a little bit. Don't say creepy things like that about other people, even celebrities, and don't try to control people's lives. Well, anyway, that is it for the Freedom Cast today. I think I've decided on a upload schedule. I think I'm going to be uploading a new episode every Wednesday. So once a week, every Wednesday, I will upload a new episode talking about news and politics and giving my anti-establishment libertarian perspective. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.